Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night to all who enjoy stamps. And those who don't, who knows, maybe other people pop in and have a little look at our amazing and fascinating hobby. Wouldn't that be fascinating and fantastic if that occurred? And that's why I'm very grateful to everyone who puts out a stamp philately video on YouTube. It spreads the word, it keeps our hobby alive. Okay, so what am I looking at today? Well, I've actually picked out 4 stamps today. So I'll be using these tweezers and hopefully I can be as skillful as this gent who is holding one. I don't even know what's going on there. Do you? Cup of tea time, stamp pages around the place. He has his own stamp room. How nice is that? So we'll have a look at some stamps and see what we can find out about them, and see if there's anything to learn, anything exciting. And here we have, to begin with, 2 stamps on paper from India. And on the left hand side we have Mother Teresa in English and also in the Indian script. India is below. Again, both languages are there, and it is a pink stamp, and it's got 20 rupees on it. I presume that's 20, not 2,000, because a couple of those zeros are smaller than the other big zero. So that's 20 rupees. And here we have a 10 rupee stamp, and this says Maharana Pratap. And again, it's Indian, and I can't work out the cancel, but it seems to be the 14th of something or other. 14th of December 2022. So a fairly modern pair of stamps, nothing wrong with that. On paper, yeah. So what do we know about, well, these characters first of all? Well, Mother Teresa has now sadly passed on, but she is an icon of the Roman Catholic Church and worked for many years in India raising funds for her order, which was set up to provide care for locals who had nowhere to live, the homeless, the sick and the poor who had nothing. Possibly that. Yeah, so she is well known in Catholic circles. This gent with the very bright moustache is the Maharana Pratap, as we've heard, as it says. He was a warrior king, from my shallow research, in the province of Mewar. And the town where he operated out of was Raiput, and he had to keep his area free of an invading Mongol force. So he's well known for that, or at least was. Well, he's got a stamp, so yeah, so he's well known for that. This stamp was issued actually in 2016, so maybe these stamps have been saved and are still being used today. I don't know. That's my research on those 2 stamps. Not much, I'm afraid, but maybe things will get a little bit more exciting as we move on to the next stamp, which is this beauty. We've got a nice date on it there, which is 1906. It's postally used. It's 5 something or others. There's a language there that I don't understand. There's a man throwing something, maybe. Possibly. Is it a javelin, or has the stamp been bent? Possibly the stamp has been bent at some point. So I did some research, and it turns out to be the 5 Lepta Greek 1906 10th anniversary of the modern Olympic Games in Athens of 1896 stamp They did 14 denominations of these, from 1 lepton all the way up to 5 drachma. What are the values of this today? This stamp is a pretty old stamp. Though in terms of age, it would be middle-aged rather than old, because it's 1906. And stamps have only been going since the 1940s, so it's not old as such. Or maybe it is. That depends on the way it's looked at. The value is, according to AI and Google Lens and other things, the value is £1, but I would put that at 10 pence. And especially with the damage done to it. So we've got the bend in the stamp, and also it's been cancelled. Though I like the cancel because it tells me exactly the year that it was postally used and when it came out. Okay, well, just harking back maybe to those Olympics, the very first Olympic Games in Athens, the first modern Olympic Games, we should say, 1896 in Athens. Who was the first medalist? Well, it turns out that a chap called James Connolly, who was from the United States of America, was the first man to win a medal. He won the triple jump, and he won that on the 4th of October 1896. His distance was 13 metres, 0.71, which seems quite a long way, doesn't it? So I looked at today's, and it was obviously an Olympic record at the time when it won that medal. What is the current Olympic record? So it's gone up from 13.71 to 18.09, which was set, I believe, in the Atlanta Olympics of 1996. So that's interesting. But you know what? This is a discus. This is actually a man throwing a discus. So who was the first person to win the discus in the Olympics in that very year that we are celebrating with this stamp? It was somebody called Robert Garrett, another USA citizen, and he threw the discus 29 metres 15. And the current distance, I hear you ask? Okay, the answer is 70 metres and a little bit. So it has really smashed forward from those times. Presumably down to fitness and, yeah, whatever. But I thought that was quite interesting, just to look back at how times have changed, but stamps don't change, do they? And stamps remain. Records get broken, stamps don't. Okay, and finally, we have another stamp here, which also has a bit of a bend in it, I'm afraid. But I'm not against stamps coming out of the wild, so to speak, with dinks and donks on them. So what have we got here? We've got two people playing music. It's got 10 plus 5. It's Koreos, IFNI, Pro Infancia, 1953. So that's the, and it's pink. That's the information that's on the stamp. So we got to, what do I know just from reading that? Well, I know the year, which is 53, and Koreos is Spanish, as far as I am aware. But I don't know IFNI. What on earth is IFNI? And what are those drachmas up there? 10 to 50 drachmas. So I did a bit of research. This is actually a 10 centimos, so it is Spanish stamp. 10 plus 5, presumably the 5 is for charity or voluntary stuff. The colour is rose purple. It belongs to a set of 4. And IFNI is a former Spanish colony, which is sat, if you will, today in present-day Morocco. The Pro Infancia is child welfare. So the plus 5 was going towards the welfare of children in that area. Ifni existed as a Spanish colony at least from 1934 to 1969, when it was then returned to Morocco. Population today is about 20,000 people, so not a lot of people, not a big area as such, but obviously important to Spain at that time, particularly with regards to their overseas travel to the Canaries and things like that, to other colonies. You know, it was a good stopping off point for them. Unfortunately, there was a war in 1957 to 1958 for independence by Moroccan nationalists who wanted that particular piece of land back from Morocco. Before 1934, the land was nominally under the control of the Sultan of Morocco, but Spain basically overtook that piece of land peacefully and ruled it until nationalism from Morocco started to, become a thing. Spain had historical claims to the area since 1476. 1476. Of course, Spain was in and out of Islamic control. Half of Spain was Islamic at one point. El Cid and all that sort of period. A war in 1860, the Sultan between Morocco and the Sultan and Spain, which kicked off. It did give Spain precedence or presence until 1934. Then they really walked in there. Interestingly, in 1936, 2 years later, it was the Spanish Civil War. So there was a lot of stuff going on. Anything else I can tell you? Well, it ceded back to Morocco in 1969, the same year when Juan Carlos I was named as Franco's successor. So we can see a lot of history, a lot of important moments in Spanish history is going on to determine the future of Ifni. Ifni, I'd never heard of it before. I'm going to look in my books and see where this stamp will go, where it will sit, or will it go in my specials? Possibly my specials. Anyway, that is all for now. I'm struggling a bit this morning with speaking. My throat is bad, and the sun is shining at least. So we'll call it a day. And thanks for watching, everybody. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks to everybody who comments and clicks a like. And, long live stamps. Stamp collecting, fun.